What is up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help y'all on your fitness journey. And I'm going to go ahead and get myself live on the gram. And maybe I should switch the way that I do this. Like maybe I should get live on the gram and then go live here. But I'm going to keep rolling with it for today because I already started. So give me 2 seconds to get my Instagram fam on. Good morning, my Instagram family. Hello, hello, hello. Make sure I'm on. I always have to wait and see the first couple of people sign on here so I know. I am running a few minutes late today, so we'll see. Let's see. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, you can say a quick hello. Nobody's on yet. I want to make sure that I'm live. I'm going to assume that I am live. Oh, there I am. Okay, I see me. I see 2 people. Hello, good morning. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll into today's topic. Today, I want to talk to you guys about HIIT versus LIT, high intensity training, low intensity training, high intensity interval training, low intensity interval training. And what's really got me fired up about talking about this topic is, I'm going to be honest, it's not frustrating, but it's hard for me to see so many very phenomenal CrossFit athletes who have had tremendous success in a sport, like switching into this like intensity is bad and intensity wrecked them and messed up their hormones and they're so burned out and this and that. And I just think that it can be really hard when you are somebody who is going to the gym, 4, 5, 6 days a week, you're doing a CrossFit class a day, to not now take this information that you're hearing from some phenomenal athlete who you have been inspired by, talking to you about how intensity has like completely wrecked them. And I want to like really get into like the main reason why this is bothering me is that it's being used, it's being interpreted wrong, right? So like for the majority of those clients or those athletes that are in this situation where they've spent, 5, 10 years or so, literally training 5 to 6 hours out of their day, constantly testing and seeing what they're capable of, always putting their body, having to fight through injuries and still showing up at competitions is not a healthy lifestyle, right? That is an extreme lifestyle. And you might just be somebody who's like going to the gym 4 or 6 days a week and you're hearing about how this intensity completely broke them. And you're like, oh my God, I don't want to end up like you. And I understand that, but I think it's important for you to be educated on why your circumstances are not their circumstances. Your circumstances are not my circumstances. I'm 15 years into CrossFit and I'm still not telling you guys that I'm broken and CrossFit and competing broke my body. I know very well, like when shit has been like not in a good place because I was pushing myself too hard. And it was definitely not high intensity training that did that to me. It was too much of going, never listening to my body, completely shutting off and just doing what I thought I needed to do to be the best in my sport. And that's very different than you guys that are trying to be fit, because high intensity training and low intensity training, which I will also argue that a lot of the reasons why those athletes struggled is because they didn't do enough low intensity training to balance it out. It's so important for you guys to understand that that's not your situation. You have different needs and you need to understand exactly what the benefits and the downsides of high intensity and low intensity training are. And that's what I want to give to you guys today. I'm not telling you that you should be doing one or the other. I'm actually going to tell you that you need to be doing both in doses that your body can handle, because that is going to give you the best health and fitness gains for longevity, also for body composition, also for time saving sake and keeping you consistent with your workout routine when you don't have a bunch of time. I'm going to talk about all of the things and the benefits of these 2 things. So if you're somebody right now who's like, I don't know what I should be doing, or maybe you stopped doing CrossFit because you were told that it's wrecking your hormones and it's wrecking your body, or maybe you're not doing cardio because you're afraid it's going to steal your gains. Like, I want you guys to understand both sides of the spectrum so that you can make educated decisions on your fitness. And that's the main goal of today's episode. And more importantly, I am also going to put a plug out there for you guys that are women over the age of 35 primarily, or even over 30, right? Or even if you're not over 30 and you deal with how do you train around your cycle. I am hosting a free virtual event this coming Thursday at 2 p.m. And this is going to be one of the things that we talk about as well. You guys are getting a little more in-depth overall picture, whether you're male or female, but I'm going to be speaking specific to those of you guys in that population where you're being told that you shouldn't be doing high intensity training around your period, or you shouldn't be doing high intensity training as you're aging. We're going to cover this as a part of my topic for my virtual event on Thursday. So if you are not already signed up, you can still sign up. I did not put it in the show notes, but I think I can still add it. So I will get that added. It might be in the comments section. So just make sure you check there. Or you can just DM me and I'll send you the link to sign up. It's super easy. I was actually really surprised at how many people have already signed up for this. I say that, but I'm also not surprised because it's one of the biggest things that I hear when I get people reach out to me for coaching is like my hormones, or I'm going through this time in my life, my body's changing. I don't know what to do about it. It's common, right? And I'm like I'm 39 years old. I'm gonna be 40 in, I don't know, I can't count right now, 17 days, May 23rd. So I'm looking at doing all the things that I can do to optimize. Anyways, not today's topic, but if you want to sign up for that, just reach out to me, DM me, or I'll make sure that I have the link to it in the show notes for you guys. So let's get talking about high intensity versus low intensity training. And I'm just going to go on Instagram, make sure if anybody is on there. Perfect. Okay, cool. All right. So if you guys have any questions on either Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, please go ahead and pop them up for me. And I'll kind of be looking over there periodically and kind of checking in on things as I get through each piece of today's topic. All right. So let's talk about high intensity training or high intensity interval training. Now, high intensity training in general is just pushing your body at an RPE or rate of perceived exertion above 7 out of 10. So you're reaching that point of like, man, these are getting really uncomfortable. I can sustain this work for short periods of time. But if you ask me to sustain this for any longer, like then a few minutes, I'm probably going to need some rest. And that's where the intervals come in, right? So sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going to push really hard for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then I'm going to take a 2 to 3 minute break. And then I'm going to do it again, right? You're like looking at trying to find intervals that you can push a RPE of like 7+. And sometimes it might be like maxing out, like going as hard as you can to see what's possible there. Now, what's going on with your body? During these bursts of high intensity training, your body is being forced to move more oxygen to your muscles through your blood a lot quicker than it would be in low intensity training or like just sitting around doing nothing. That's why you're feeling that like the burning sensation. That's your body trying to get energy to those muscles. It's why you're feeling the fatigue. It's why your breath you're getting out of breath. All of those things are happening. Okay. So in this case, you're actually teaching your body to be more efficient at getting energy quicker. So your body becomes more efficient at this process. And over time, you build fitness. So hopefully over time, you're going to find that holding paces and moving for a certain amount of time, you can hold a faster pace or you can do more reps in that time frame. That's the goal. So think of this as like short bursts of effort followed by rest, or one like max effort burst of effort. So like Fran, for instance, is a high intensity workout. It's 2 to 5 minutes for elite to RX-ish client or, athletes or gym goers, whatever you want to call yourself. It causes a heart rate spike. So it gets your heart rate up. You feel the muscle burn. It's sprinting. It's CrossFit workouts. It's all of that stuff, right? And it usually puts a level of stress on your body. Low intensity training, on the other hand, or low intensity interval training, if you want to call it, these efforts are done at a rate of perceived exertion of like a 1 to a 5. Your heart rate stays lower. Your muscles aren't building up that like burning feeling. Your body isn't requiring as much oxygen getting to your muscles to fuel this types of efforts. This is where you hear a lot of like the buzz around like zone 2 training, but it can also be things like gentle walking. In fact, some of you guys trying to do zone 2 training might find that you cannot even run without your heart rate spiking, that your body is requiring that much energy just to get to a pace where you can run. And that's too intense for where you're at. So low intensity training can really help you guys because it helps your body just get comfortable in that low state where your body's not utilizing so much energy to move. So this requires a lot less stress in the body. You can typically sustain these efforts a lot longer. And that's why a lot of people struggle with zone 2 training, because they're like, I literally have to walk to keep my heart rate from spiking. That's a sign that you need to build more aerobic fitness. So over time, that will get better. And another thing you'll find is that over time, the paces that used to keep you in like high zone 4 are now like your zone 2 paces. Like you can't even get your heart rate up anymore. Those are signs of positive adaptations from low intensity training, or also low intensity interval training. Interval training in a low intensity setting is probably going to have longer durations with like shorter rest periods. It might be like 4 minutes of running, 1 minute of walking, or something along those lines. Okay. Typically, you can hold a conversation. You can sustain these things for more like 30 to 60 minutes. And in examples of this are like incline walking, steady state biking, rowing, even just doing CrossFit movements at a lower intensity, like box step ups or box jumps at a more aerobic pace rather than trying to go faster, burpees, things like that. Okay. So let's talk about the benefits of both. I'm going to talk about high intensity training first, and I'm going to go benefits and downsides of high intensity, and then the benefits and the downsides of low intensity training. Okay, this is really important for you guys to understand, especially if you guys have fat loss goals and you're trying to figure out like how you should be training for them. If you guys have fitness goals and you're trying to improve certain pieces of your fitness, knowing where you fall on the spectrum of where you're better is going to help get you better, because you can work in this in the area where you need more effort in. Okay, so biggest benefits of high intensity training, high intensity interval training. You're going to get more bang for your buck in terms of calorie expenditure. Now, obviously in the gym, it's not all about calorie expenditure, but high intensity bursts do spike calorie expenditure quickly because of how much energy is required to fuel those muscles. Your body's pumping so much blood to try and get more oxygen delivered to those muscles. There is also a post-exercise calorie burn or afterburn. Often that happens as your body is trying to regulate again. Other benefits are it boosts your VO2 max, heart health, which is going to improve your cardiovascular fitness. A big one for those of you guys that are looking for body composition is it is stated that oftentimes people will opt for more shorter duration cardio-based intervals to help retain muscle tissue during a fat loss phase. And I will go into that more in depth as I break down low versus high intensity training. But they do say that high intensity training can sometimes preserve more lean muscle mass, only because too much low intensity can be catabolic. And we'll talk about that later. High intensity training can improve insulin sensitivity. A lot of people will tell you that like high intensity training is going to like spike your cortisol. And well, I should just probably wait and talk about that when I talk about the cons. But if you're doing the right dosage and you're fueling your body appropriately, it can actually improve your insulin sensitivity. The biggest benefits are things like the fact that it's time efficient, right? So like if you don't have time for a 60-minute walk, you can burn the same amount of calories in a 15-minute CrossFit workout. So like you're getting more bang for your buck in terms of that, which can be really helpful for those of you guys with really busy schedules. It boosts mitochondrial density, which can help you guys with improving energy production, improving your immune system function, and all that stuff. Hormone benefits, which is one of the things I'm going to cover in my class on Thursday, or my virtual event on Thursday, is an increase in growth hormone and adrenaline, which can both help in aiding in fat loss along with muscle building. And then two big ones that I actually wrote down. It's versatile, so you can do it with so many different things in so many different, like you can literally do it anywhere, right? I can decide right now that I want to do a high intensity workout in my kitchen if I want to do burpees. Ooh, burpees, right? Like I can do it with resistance training. I can do thrusters, or I can do dumbbell snatches. I can do different things, which can make it easy for me to avoid boredom, right? Like I'm not just running all the time or biking all the time. If you're somebody that doesn't like doing the monostructural stuff, this can be great for you to keep your workouts fun and keep you from burning out. And then I think one of the biggest things that I have found from high intensity training that a lot of people do not give enough credit for is the mental toughness and resiliency that high intensity training does build. When you are pushing at those threshold paces and you are learning to withhold pain tolerances and things like that, it's uncomfortable. But that grit transfers over into other areas of your life that you don't even realize. You are now getting tougher skin when you're dealing with stress at your job, when you're in traffic, when you're at the grocery store. You become a way more patient person because you understand how to withstand pain and stress. You are more productive because you don't get overwhelmed, because you learn how to pace yourself in other areas. That mental toughness and grit can be useful in making you a high performer, not just in the gym, but in other areas of your life. Okay, so that's probably one of the biggest benefits that I love about high intensity training. I'm just going to pop over here. Hi, good morning. I'm so happy that you're grocery shopping, Judy. I got to text you later. I got some thoughts for you, Miss Judy. You were on my mind this morning. So those are some of the benefits of high intensity training. Now, let me talk about the downsides that are often what you guys are hearing a lot about. All of which do have some truth, but it's important, as we talk about this later on, the importance of finding balance. Okay. So one of the things is that they say that it can be too intense for beginners. Many people just like jump into it without a base of fitness or without a base of like movement mechanics, and it can put you at risk for injury or burnout. So if you've never done high intensity training and you start doing it and you're doing too much, like it's going to be too much overload for your body. Just like anything in life, too much too quickly might cause your body to respond in a negative way. And if you don't have the mechanics of the movements mastered and you're not paying attention to form, you are going to be at a higher risk from injury, because now you're in a state where you're like mentally stressed. You're not going to be thinking about your form. Okay. So it's really important that you're mastering the mechanics. It does have a high stress response on the body. But again, your body is learning how to adapt to stressors by taking this. But too much high intensity training can spike your stress levels, your cortisol, and your other stress hormones, especially if you are not getting enough sleep and you're not spending enough time with recovery. In fact, one of my clients yesterday asked me, she goes, "Can you define recovery for me?" I said, recovery is everything that you're doing when you're not stressed. Like, that's what it is. And if you can't think of a time in your day when you're not stressed, you are not getting enough recovery in. Okay. So like everything in life compounds no matter what you're doing. But stress on your body isn't a bad thing. Knowing what stress your body can handle and still have a positive adaptation to is the right thing. So like when you're doing those high intensity intervals and you have 10 of them to do, if you go out so hard in the first one that you're done by the second or third one because your central nervous system is like, I cannot go that hard again, you've now had a negative adaptation. Whereas you want to learn how to find the right level dosage of stress for you to find that third gear at the end of those workouts. Okay. High intensity training, if you're not recovering well from it, your muscles and your nervous system do require more time to bounce back from this. So if you aren't getting enough recovery in, it can negatively impact your ability to build muscle tissue. It can impact your ability to even sustain your training program. You know, I have clients like, man, I don't know if I should be doing CrossFit 5 days a week, because every day their CrossFit gym is programming hard ass freaking workouts. And like, no, you shouldn't be doing that every single day a week. If that's what your gym is doing, you need balance. Like you need different time domains. That was the beauty of CrossFit, right? It wasn't always one thing. Some people claim that high intensity training can be poor or can be a bad idea for hormone imbalances. So this is where I get, and I'm going to talk about this a lot, for women that are dealing with things like adrenal issues, PCOS, different parts of their menstrual phases, going through menopause, all that stuff. Because high intensity training does have a higher stress response, it can worsen your fatigue or hormonal systems or hormonal symptoms if you are not getting the proper nutrition, recovery, and sleep from it. Like that's the big things. It can have a great impact on your ability to handle, it can have a great impact on helping to balance your hormones, helping with your menstrual cycle, helping with PCOS, helping with adrenal issues, if you understand how much is right for you. And we're going to talk about that later. I just want to make sure I put that out there for those of you guys that aren't going to stay on for the whole episode. Okay. It's very easy to overtrain high intensity training. Y'all, I am a HIIT addict. I love high intensity training. It's fun, right? Like it's like the shortcut to the good stuff. Like it feels really good and then it like feels really, really bad, but like, it's only for a short time. So you can keep doing it, right? Like more is not always better. Too much of it is going to defeat the purpose. And this is where I'm going to talk primarily about like those athletes that I'm talking about. They're like all of a sudden high intensity training wrecked them. No, like you are doing too much of this stuff too often. Every single session was about pushing yourself to the max. Okay. Like every single day, there was always this pressure in your head about like, how am I stacking up against somebody else? What is somebody else doing? Like you have to know when it's time for you to pull back and work at your perceived exertion rates and where that is for you on the day. Another downside of high intensity training is that some people have a harder time knowing how to get into that pain threshold and they don't push hard enough. So, for instance, I can put an AMRAP for 10 minutes up and it could be like 10 dumbbell snatches, 10 push-ups, 10 pull-ups, right? And you could be going really, really hard for 10 minutes. And that's the idea, is like, how hard can I go for 10 minutes? Where somebody else can be like, I'm going to work for 10 minutes and just get this workout done. That's going to be a very different stimulus. And the person that's just working for 10 minutes likely isn't going to get the benefits from the high intensity aspect if they're not approaching the workout the right way. Okay. So it does require a level of effort for it to be effective. And some people don't know how to find that. I already kind of mentioned this, but it can sometimes, they say, limit muscle building, because if you're only prioritizing the high intensity stuff and you're not putting enough effort and emphasis into your lifts, sometimes this can not be ideal for hypertrophy or maximal strength. So I see this a lot in CrossFit. Like you see that the workout has like wall balls and burpees, and the beginning of the class, you guys are doing 5x5 back squats. You're like, oh, I don't want to go too heavy because I don't want to waste my energy here. I'm going to save it for the Metcon. That's often not what you want to be doing. I would rather you go harder on the lifts and like see what's left for the Metcon for the majority of you guys. Okay. Higher injury risk. I already kind of mentioned this because oftentimes you're doing more skilled movements or more explosive movements under fatigue. This does obviously lead to a greater chance of form breakdown, especially if you are not being coached well. I see this all the time. And it's so hard. Like you watch people in a class and they're moving and you like know they're not moving well. And the coach knows they're not moving well, but they're not saying anything. And then like 2 months later, the person's like, my knee is bothering me. And like, you're like, oh yeah, like I watch your squats and like your knees are always like kind of caving in. Like you need to be coached. You need to be making sure that you're moving well. And that might mean sometimes taking videos of yourself. And the biggest one is that the mental burnout. Guys, high intensity training can be hard, right? If you're constantly doing these all out sessions, it can become mentally exhausting and it can kind of make you like less motivated to go in and do it, right? Like you see the work and like, man, I do not want to do that today. And it just makes it not so enjoyable, right? So not everybody wants to push themselves that hard. So long-term adherence can sometimes drop if you are never giving yourself periodized time off or dosing it the right way. So that's just talking about the high intensity piece, guys. So as you can see, there's a lot of pros and cons to high intensity training. We're going to talk about the flip of this stuff now. So hopefully y'all are still with me. That's all the high intensity shit. Now we got to get into the low intensity shit. So if you guys have questions about high intensity stuff, make sure you pop them up in the comments. I'm going to go back to that when I finish up low intensity. Low intensity interval training or low intensity training. All right. The benefits of low intensity training, guys, I can't tell you, there's so many benefits to low intensity training. As I go back to those athletes again who are broken and selling their lit programs, if they had just included more of this stuff in their training, they likely would have more longevity and probably would not feel the way that they do about high intensity training. By the way, they probably are still doing high intensity training, just not as much of it. But low intensity benefits, there's lower joint impact. So for a lot of you guys who are afraid of like, joint pain and stuff like that, you have previous injuries or you don't want to get injured, it's a little bit easier on your body. You can sustain it for longer durations. So this builds some cardio fitness because you're basically, your body's not really requiring so much effort. So you're building a longer steady state cardio. So as I mentioned, if you start doing low intensity training and you're zone 2, you're literally walking, eventually that's going to get easier and you'll be able to start to jog. So you're improving your aerobic capacity because you're teaching your body to require less oxygen. It's sustainable for longer durations. I mentioned that. Guys, this is great to help balance out your high intensity. It actually enhances recovery and can be great for getting you guys ready for your next session. So great for you guys to go for a walk, getting some gentle mobility in on your recovery days. It doesn't have as high of a stress load. It doesn't really add any stress to your body because it doesn't spike anything. It doesn't spike your blood sugar. It doesn't spike anything. It's like just steady state, right? Going for a walk, you're not going to feel stressed out about it. So it's easier to pair with strength training because it doesn't really impact your strength training. So like going for a walk and doing that kind of stuff won't really impact your ability to lift heavy, right? So like I'm not going to be so fatigued after a walk when I go to squat. I guess I can talk about that. I'm going to talk about some pros and cons as I get going. It does help with mental clarity. A lot of my clients who deal with I get energy crashes around 2 or 3 p.m. All they need is a freaking afternoon walk. Get up and move your body for a little bit, and all of a sudden you feel better. Okay. Non-exercise activity often gets talked about, but not emphasized. A lot of people that are doing high intensity training don't understand that just going for walks throughout their day, getting up and moving can actually help enhance non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which can be helpful for fat loss. It's accessible for all fitness levels. You don't need to be fit to go for a walk. You just need to be able to get off your lazy ass and go, right? It's less intimidating. It's safer. You feel a little bit better and you're less prone to injury. There isn't as much delayed onset muscle soreness, so you won't be feeling like you're going to get beat up from it. So all of this stuff is why none of this is telling you that you should not be doing low intensity training. Everybody should be doing low intensity training. At some point in your day, you should be moving your body at a slow, steady state, right? Like going for a walk, just moving around, stretching. This is stuff that everybody can be doing. The high intensity stuff needs to be sprinkled in doses, and we're going to talk about that. Now, let's talk about some of the downsides of too much low intensity training or only focusing on low intensity training, okay? Some of you guys are going to relate to this. I myself used to never go for walks because I'm like, this is easy. Like, this isn't helping me any. I'm not sweating. I don't feel sore from it. It's not it's not productive. It feels like a waste of my time. I'm not improving my fitness by going for a walk. That's how I would feel. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize how impactful it was for my recovery to add it in. It takes a long time. So if you're only doing low intensity training, you have to do more of it. Okay. So like, as I mentioned before, if you've only got 15 minutes of working out to do, 15 minutes of walking versus 15 minutes of a high intensity workout are going to have a very different impact. So you usually need at least 30 to 60 minutes to get the benefit of low intensity training sessions. It's often looked at as boring, right? Walking on a treadmill, doing zone 2, you're not getting any variety. It kind of feels boring and like just monotonous. Like you don't really want to do it. You're not getting that adrenaline rush. You're not getting the dopamine hit from the intensity. So you don't feel like you're doing something fun. It can be kind of boring. That's why I normally will listen to a podcast, do some work or whatever else I can do while I'm doing low intensity training. You don't burn as many calories per minute, which makes people think it's kind of like not worth the time. So why add it in? But it really can help with aiding with fat loss because you can do more of it, right? Like, so if you're looking for fat loss strategies and you don't want to always be dropping your calories, sometimes just adding in more low intensity training can be helpful because it doesn't impact your recovery in a negative way. It only positively increases it. But it does require you to move a little bit longer. It really doesn't feel like training is another big one. Like you feel like it's like, all right, I don't feel like this is worth it. Like, so even for me, like I used to save my zone 2 sessions only for my recovery days because I felt like wasting a training session on moving at an easy pace wasn't really training. I wasn't training hard, so it didn't count. But it actually was very beneficial for my training because it helps, like I said, bring up my fitness. So I was able to bring up my zone 2 paces and I was able to get more training in at paces that used to be hard for me that are now easy. So it was kind of cool how it worked out. I think the big one is you guys are all busy. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got so much shit to be doing in their day. Adding in more work is like already hard enough. So feeling like you have to fit in more low intensity training can feel like an added task rather than it being something that is good for recovery and fat loss. So it's really, really, really hard because you're like, man, I only have so many hours in a day. and I'm hitting the gym in the morning and I'm going to work and I don't know when I'm going to fit in like another 60-minute walk, right? So it's important to know that like you don't have to be adding in a whole bunch of it. You might be getting in what they like to call exercise snacks throughout the day. Or maybe you're just focusing a couple of sessions a week, being a little bit longer, slower, which I'm going to talk about. And then I think the biggest thing about low intensity training that I want to put out there is too much low intensity training and not enough high intensity training. If you are somebody who wants to get fitter, it doesn't improve your top end fitness. So all the low intensity in the world is not going to improve your top end fitness. And it could actually blunt some of your top end fitness if you're doing too much of it. So doing too much cardio can be catabolic on your muscle tissue. It can be bad for, those of you guys that also want to be able to. So like, for instance, if I keep rowing 1,000-meter, with a 90-second rest for, an hour, that's going to be a very different pace versus me pushing 1,000 meters for time on the rower. If I'm only doing the slower ones, my top end 1,000-meter row time will go down. So I want to make sure I'm working a little bit of both. Okay. So a little bit on low intensity training, a lot on high intensity training. I'm just going to pop over to make sure I'm not missing any questions. All right. Let's talk now about what you should be doing. What is actually better? What I want you to understand is that one does not win, okay? It's knowing the right balance of both and incorporating them in ways that you feel good and can recover from. High intensity retraining is a stressor on your body, but it's a good stressor if it's balanced with the other stressors of your life. For most of you guys, that looks like 2 to 3 really hard high intensity Metcons a week. And then maybe the rest of your week, you're getting 2 to 3 of those lower intensity sessions. Or if you've been training CrossFit for a while, you might be able to do 5 to 6 days of high intensity training per week, but maybe just taking 1 or 2 of those days and making those a little bit longer. More of the low intensity sessions could help balance things out if you're not getting enough of that. You'll still get the benefits from the high intensity training if you pull back a couple of your training sessions to be a little bit more low intensity focused, which can be helpful for your fat loss goals, for your hormones, for your recovery, and still giving you the fitness gains that you're looking for. Low intensity training often unlocks fat loss when someone's stuck in a high intensity training only cycle. I see this all the time, and it's typical. I'll have women that go to a CrossFit gym either first thing in the morning or in the evening, but the rest of the day they're literally just sitting. Okay, so they've gotten 15 minutes of high intensity work and 0 low intensity work in. Adding in some low intensity work throughout the day can help balance that out. Okay, so the questions that I want you to ask yourself is, are you always redlining? Are you the person that's in the gym and you're always going as hard as you can? Maybe it's time to start pulling back a little bit and working at a rate of perceived exertion of like 4 to 7, like going a little bit longer. If you're somebody that avoids the boring, longer workouts, maybe you need more boring, longer workouts. Vice versa. If you're only showing up for the boring, long workouts, maybe you're going slow too often, and that's blunting your ability to recover from stress. So maybe you need to sprinkle in a couple of those higher intensity sessions. Get your body comfortable seeing what it's capable of. Guys, that stuff is not easy. But when you do it, you're like, oh, I was able to hold that and I got through it and I didn't die. Like that's what you feel at the end. You're like, I actually did that and I didn't die. Like I know that feeling. It hurts in the moment, but afterwards it's important. You want to make sure that you're using both high intensity and low intensity intentionally and strategically, right? So like in a fat loss phase, I might be looking to add in a little bit more low intensity work, as I mentioned, to help improve my ability to burn body fat. But I want to make sure it's done with the strategic plan so that I'm not blunting my muscle building potential or impacting my top end strength as an athlete. You want to pay attention to things like your sleep, your stress, your hunger, your mood, because even low intensity training can spike your appetite. Too much high intensity training can impact your sleep. It's knowing how your body is recovering. So the most important reminder is that your training should build you and not drain you. Like you want to make sure that whatever balance of both you're doing, you should be feeling good about it. Now, when I say that, not every day is going to feel like Monday. It's not always going to feel like you're fresh on a Monday morning, right? Like even this morning for me, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm going to want to row today. I was like, maybe I'll just row at like a 10K easy. And then I started warming up and I'm like, man, my row feels pretty good right now. So I was able to push some more higher intensity intervals today. but it's all about knowing what your body needs and how your body is responding. So if you guys got value out of this episode, or you guys have any questions about anything to do with high intensity or low intensity training, please feel free to reach out to me. If you want to join in on my workshop on Thursday, if you are a woman in the ages, I'm gonna say over 30. It says over 35. What I really want to dive into though are 3 basic categories. I want to talk a lot about pre, peri, postmenopausal women, changes in your body composition, your inflammation markers, changes in your appetite, how to really combat the changes that are going on. I want to talk category 2 about training around your cycle and understanding the impact that your hormones are having on a monthly basis on your workouts, on your nutrition. And I also want to cover a little bit. I'm not going to dive deep into this because it's going to be, otherwise it'd be like a freaking 3-hour event, which maybe I could do, but I don't know. I don't want you guys to be bored. I want you guys to be excited, but I want to dive into a couple more of the more advanced topics like PCOS, insulin resistance, even a little bit of like diabetes and things like that. For those of you guys that are struggling to know what you should be doing to help combat those more specific cases of hormone imbalances. So that's what I got for today. If you guys need anything, you know where to find me. I will drop the link to the sign up for that in my show notes. As I mentioned on YouTube, I think I have to do it in the comments, so check the comment section. But it will be in the show notes on Apple Podcasts. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys all have a good Tuesday. Does anybody have any other nutrition-related questions, training-related questions, anything based on what I talked about today that I could answer for you guys while I'm still on here? And if not, I will hop off. All right. Well, the silence says it all, although it's always hard because I feel like somebody could be typing with their little fingers. And by the time I say, see y'all later, I'm going to see it pop up. So if that's you, I will make sure that I answer your question if you pop it in the comments, even if it's after this is already ended. So have a good day, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.